Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today as we are now going into April. This is my April edition of the 2022 NHL Mock Draft. There's been a lot of change here in our mock draft this month, and I do want to give credit here to a couple of people, elite prospects, the hockey writers. I did a little bit of research because I'm not the most keen on all these prospects and how things have changed drastically. I mean, you look at some of the guys that were top 10 players, all of a sudden moving potentially outside of the top 20. We're going to go over all that. So let's get right into it. We are going to do our top 10 in today's video. So we're going to start things off at number 10. And we're starting off with an American here. We have a couple of Americans here in the top 10 this year. A little breath of fresh air. Cutter Gautier. He is a left winger right now. And first of all, great name. Cutter Gautier. That's incredible. He is currently playing with the U.S. National Development Program team. He has a lot of versatility to his game. That's what a lot of scouts like about this guy. He's currently playing as... Well, he has not played yet, but he is a commit to Boston College. That shows you how young he is. He's one of the younger guys in this draft. He's proven he can also play center, which is also extremely attractive, kind of like a Claude Giroux. He's a winger, but can play center if a guy gets thrown out of the faceoff. Teams are going to look at that little stuff like that. If they have to choose between him and another winger, they're going to pick Cutter Gautier, again, for something like that. He's a great penalty killer, which is another thing that a lot of people like about him. He's not necessarily the flashy goal scorer, but come playoff time, you need a guy in a crunch. I'm talking about a Brendan Gallagher, a Brad Marchand-esque player. That's where he slots right in. That's what you're looking at with Cutter Gautier. I think a lot of teams are going to have a lot of interest in him come draft day. Moving on, we have a defenseman here. We have a couple of defensemen in this list. All three of them are actually back to back to back. So the first one we're going to go over here is Ryan Chesley, another American here. And a lot of people like this guy. They see him as a very, a lot of people see him later in the first round. This is more of a hockey writer look at. And this is what they actually said about him. This one might be a shocker for a lot of people. But I've spoken to multiple NHL teams who rank Chesley as one of the top blue line targets in the entire draft. He's an all-around defender with incredible strength, committed to the University of Minnesota, who just, they just went to the finals in the Big Ten, and never really losing to whom? Matt Beniers, Owen Power in the University of Michigan, but Minnesota put together a really nice run this year. So that's kind of what you're looking at there. Ryan Chesley, again, a very highly thought of player, and again, probably going to play at the University of Minnesota next year, but a highly thought of prospect with a lot of all-around game. He's not just a one type of defenseman. He's good defensively, good offensively, good skater. He's an all-around good defenseman. At number 8 here is David Jiricek. Now, according to the hockey writers, at least, they have him listed as number 3 on their list. I don't have him that high. Oh, no, he's number 4 on their list. But he's had some injury setbacks. That's the biggest thing for Jiricek. A lot of people like his ability as a player in terms of what he brings offensively. Very offensive-minded defenseman, a little bit different than what you're getting in Chesley. He's got a lot of mobility. He's very cool and calm with the puck. A lot of poise when he's got the puck on his stick. He was just named to the World Junior Championship training camp, which is very exciting. And this is a Czech Republic, so we got a Czech on the list here. The only Czech here in the top 10. But there's your next defenseman. And then to end off our defenseman list here, it ends at number 7, but it's not necessarily because of lack of talent. It just, again, it depends on a need. If a team in the top 5 wants a defenseman, they're going to go after this defenseman who I'm going to talk about here. And it is a Slovakian defenseman, Zdeno Chara. Simon Nemec. A lot of people have been talking about him. I've been talking about him for a lot this year in terms of my 2022 prospects. Simon Nemec is here at number 7. So Slovakian defenseman, steady all-around blue liner, putting up numbers in the Slovakian league after dominating at summer's under-18 Hlinka Gretzky Cup tournament. Some scouts believe he's the top blue liner in the class, so don't be shocked if he gets picked before Jiricek. And that's kind of what I'm going with here, because he doesn't have that injury history. I think that could be a problem for Jiricek. We've seen a lot of guys get hampered by injury. Peyton Krebs of the Vegas Golden Knights, you would think he's a top 10 pick. I think he was selected 16th or 18th overall because he had to walk up to the stage in crutches. He was injured for a lot of that season with the Kootenay Ice in the WHL. You're kind of looking at something similar here where Jiricek's injury is going to lower his draft stock. Maybe come 2 years from now, nobody's going to worry about that injury. But come draft day in the next couple of months, that could still be a little bit of a deterrent for a team selecting him in the top 5. So that allows for Simon Nemec to move up, which I think is really exciting. And again, there is your Slovakian defenseman. Zdeno Chara come to mind? Anybody? At number 6, this guy was talked about a lot in the beginning of the year, maybe as a top 5 pick. He's moved down to number 6, and he's still going to be a very good hockey player. We have a francophone here on the list, just warning you guys. Playing with the Winnipeg Ice this year, centerman Matthew Savoie. He's extremely skilled, very talented, very quick, an intense battle level. So when it comes to front the net battles, puck battles in the corners, expect Matthew Savoie to be right in the mix and very effective in that role. He is a little bit of a smaller player, so you know that teams are going to see that as a deterrent. Hopefully someday in the future, teams won't see it that way, but this is definitely something that a lot of people see as a weakness, and that is going to lower his draft stock. That's why I have him outside the top 5, but in terms of overall skill and talent, this could be a guy like Trevor Zegras who gets picked in between 6 and 10 that ends up being a superstar. So keep an eye out there for Matthew Savoie. I think that could be a really nice pick for someone that maybe missed out in the top 5, but is still going to get a really, really good hockey player. Now we move up into the top 5, and this name may sound familiar because he's playing in the NHL, his brother at the very least. Morgan Geekie's brother, Connor Geekie, is going to go number 5 here in our list. Another Canadian center, also playing with the Winnipeg Ice in the WHL, and completely different game than Matthew Savoie, as scouts call him a quote-unquote big rig. And his combination of size and skill is so tantalizing, still developing on a loaded Kootenay Ice or Winnipeg Ice squad. Like I said, Matthew Savoie's there. I wouldn't be surprised if a team jumps on him early thanks to the long-term potential of Connor Geekie. Again, one of the younger guys in this draft class. Again, going to be attractive in that sense. His brother's already gone through the ringer in Carolina. Now with the Florida Panthers, Geekie is going to be an attractive option here at the draft. So that's what we have there. Quickly going through the top 4, Joakim Kemell is a right winger, a Finnish right winger. A lot of people really like him. Hockey Writers has him as number 3. He's currently playing with JYP in Finland. He had a really good start to the season, but then he had a shoulder injury, which ultimately set him back just a little bit. And again, it lowers your draft stock just a little bit, but a lot of people see him, what he's done on the ice, and they're like, we might be willing to bet a top 5 pick with what this guy has. So that's something to consider. He's got a really good release, extremely competitive. That's something that teams are going to be attracted to come draft day. Now moving up to number 3. Another Finnish here. Another Finnish winger, Juraj Slafkovsky, is a name to take a look at. Juraj Slafkovsky has moved down a lot here, but with my rankings, he's at number 3. The MVP of the Olympics with Slovakia. He finished off his Finnish regular season strong. He's a big-time beast with great upside, and while scouts are trying to figure out how much upside he truly has, it's hard not to see him in the top 5. His name's been thrown around since I remember back in November, December making this kind of video. His name is still in the mix in the top 3. I think that's definitely a name that we could say pretty confidently will be in the top 5 at the very least. Moving up here to number 2, a lot of people like Logan Cooley, and he's been playing at the University of Michigan. Oh, he's a commit for the University of Michigan. Centerman playing with the U.S. National Development Team. High-end Minnesota commit, combines speed and smarts to create turnovers and burn opponents with his offensive prowess. Still has some growing to do, and scouts anticipate another pop in his skating once he does. So again, Logan Cooley is expected to be more the long-term guy. Again, kind of like a Matt Beniers in this year's draft. Goes back to his school that he committed to, plays a year there, and then inevitably goes to the team that drafts him, probably 2nd or 3rd overall. Logan Cooley, a lot of people are liking Logan Cooley. A lot of hype around him recently. It makes you wonder, once we get closer to the draft, will he create enough of a gap where there's maybe a little bit of question who could go number 1 between Logan Cooley and inevitably leading us into the number 1 draft pick, who is playing with the Kingston Frontenacs of the Ontario Hockey League in the OHL, and that is Shane Wright. Undoubtedly, right now, there is no real competition at that number 1 spot. Logan Cooley being the closest, but still, that's giving Logan Cooley too much credit to most scouts. He plays a complete game. And if you need points, he could go and score, and he could go on a scoring spree. The type of number 1 center you would want on the ice in the last minute of play, whether you're up a goal or down a goal. And he's very similar in that sense to a Patrice Bergeron, right? That same kind of guy that can win you the important faceoff. In late Game 7 of a Stanley Cup playoff series, Shane Wright could win you that playoff, that faceoff that gets you the goal late, back to the point, or wins the faceoff back so your defenseman can hug it in the boards and call it a day. Shane Wright can do that for you, and he's going to be a very dimensional player. He could play on the power play, play on the penalty kill if you need him to. I think Shane Wright's going to be an all-around really good player, and a lot of people, it's not fair. They're comparing him to what we're going to see next year in next year's draft, which obviously is Connor Bedard. But this kid is still special. Shane Wright is still undoubtedly the number 1 pick, and a lot of people are critiquing people out there kind of making that point. Oh, well, there's some competition for number 1 just to get the clicks. But inevitably, at the end of the day, it is pretty much a foregone conclusion. Right now, at the very least, it is Shane Wright's first overall pick to lose. So guys, that is it for today's video. Comment down below, what do you think of my mock top 10 here? Like I said, credit here to Elite Prospects as well as the Hockey Writers for some of their recent content and some of my research to get to what we got to today. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.